Hi, this is Cecile Defina, 2749 Mary Avenue, Mary, New York, 1566.
And what item are you addressing?
Number 20. I don't have it in front of me, but it is about the appointment of Dr. Siegel. It says provisional. Exactly what does that mean, please?
Mr. Secretary, Ms. Peck.
Provisional means that he is appointed, but he, like anyone else, must take there will be a test, because it is a competitive civil service.
It's a civil service designation. He's being appointed provisionally because it is a civil service designation. He'll be subject to a test.
The state will advertise and call for a test that will be open.
Okay, and what would this be for the in-house full-time position of veterinarian? Okay, I think it's sort of common knowledge that Dr. Siegel is not able to perform surgeries, and you're making a face, but it's a big concern. I have FOIL documents that show that there have been new vets have come in, contracted out to do all the surgeries and all the TNRs and all the in-house spay-neuters because Dr. Siegel is not capable. So why would we be considering to hire a full-time in-house vet that is not capable of doing the job that he's supposed to be doing? I mean, that's where the brunt of the work, that you need a vet that is able to perform surgeries. I mean, right now, he's renting out his vet van to a vet that can do the surgeries. So why would we be hiring him as the in-house full-time vet to do exams? A vet tech can do exams. A vet tech cannot do surgeries. So the reasoning, I mean, this is blatantly a major waste of money. He's made close to $200,000 last year, and that does not include the rental fee for his van, which is $300 a day to rent to a vet who's capable of doing surgeries. I don't understand this. I don't see how anybody can understand this. I don't understand how anybody would do this.
The way I understand it is that his duties have increased, so he's doing more other work. It's not that
I have invoices here of his duties. He does nothing but exams. A vet tech does exams. And what's more concerning, I also have FOIL documents that his name is pretty much rubber stamped everywhere as performed by Dr. Siegel, Dr. Siegel, Dr. Siegel. What's really odd is he's not even there. He's punched out at 12:30, yet you're saying that he's performing exams that are happening at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
once again, the way I understand the issue is that Dr. Siegel's workload has increased substantially.
How? He doesn't do surgeries. He doesn't do spay-neuter. He doesn't do TNR. I am telling you, all he does is exams up until 12:30, even though you're showing him as doing 144 exams a month. That is usually after 12:30, and he's already punched out.
All right, thank you, Mr. Finn. Your point is duly noted. Thank you very much for your opinion. You made your point. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the administrative panel? Ms. Madden.
Thinking I'm going to be last.
Your name and address for the record.
Diane Madden, 243 Cherry Place, East Meadow, New York, 11554. Mr. I'd like to give you the opportunity to continue and explain, please, what the additional workload is of Dr. Siegel. But before I do that, obviously the town board, it's their responsibility on how taxpayer money is spent. And for my years within the animal shelter, Dr. Siegel struggled. He could not, particularly for the female animals, could not perform spay. He had a difficulty with a wrist, with his knee. Therefore, these animals would sit and wait. And he was at that time a contracted vet. I can't imagine in the years that have passed that he's now able to perform all these surgeries, and certainly, according to the oils, he's not. So please do explain what his additional duties are aside from examining animals.
Ms. Petrie will be able to fill in some of the blanks, but my understanding is that because his duties have increased substantially, he doesn't have enough time to do surgeries. And that, so someone else is doing those surgeries. It's not that he's not capable, because that was the question, that why are we hiring somebody who's not capable of performing surgeries? It's not that he's not capable of performing surgeries the way I understand it, it's that he doesn't have the time because he's doing other things.
Ms. Petrie,
And that's why,
Ms. Petrie, why don't you fill in the blanks?
First of all, the shelter is performing more spay neuters than it has in past years. The need for additional surgical help stems from that. There are, at any given time, there are a very large number of animals in that shelter. There are numerous other duties performed by the veterinarian short of actually being in surgery. And with respect to the extent of his daily duties, those are assigned by the director of the shelter. You are more than welcome to discuss the minute details of his daily schedule. I don't monitor that.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what the duties are. They're on flights, they're examination.
It's not obvious at all.
And I'm just going to say it plain out. It sounds like Dr. Siegel has gotten a real good sweetheart deal to me. You do have a responsibility of taxpayer money. Who you should be hiring is someone that's very skilled in shelter medicine, physically able to perform surgeries, and that is your duty, not someone that has capitalized on these animals to the tune of $300,000 a year. This is the person that you've chosen to hire as a full-time vet?
Well, let me again assure you, we take our responsibility to the taxpayers very seriously. We thank you for your opinion. It is duly noted, and it's on the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wanting to speak on any matter before the board on the administrative calendar? Koch.
Bill Procacci, 1165 Vaughan Street. I just want to follow up with Jeffrey Siegel item. It's articulated many times, it's on video. What are those other duties that a vet performs besides examinations, TNR, surgeries? I have 3 animals. I've been to the vet numerous times. I spent a lot of money there. I see what the vet tech does, and those duties are examining the animals, doing the surgeries, medication. So what are these other duties that we're talking about that Ms. Petrie, Mr. mentioned?
And you may not have heard her, but Ms. Petrie did indicate that if you want to go into greater detail with respect to the duties of the personnel at the animal shelter, you are more than welcome to query the director of the animal shelter.
3 years ago, I sat here, Supervisor Murray sat over there, and I brought up this very issue with a report from payscale.com on what shelter vets get, the salaries, the high, the low, the areas, and everything. There's a thorough examination, you pay for that service, it's online, there's a lot of different services. And I argued as to why are we paying $242,000 for full-time veterinary service, which still requires a lot of animals to go to a private veterinarian facility for other procedures, when a shelter vet, and I gave it a range, I think it was around between $65,000 and $100,000 for a shelter vet. We talked about personal responsibility. Ms. Murray said, LOL, I'm not taking into account the cost of benefits. But even if you allow 40% of benefits, $45,000 a year, for benefits, the taxpayers for the last 3 years has overpaid by $100 grand a year, 300 grand, since the first concept of having 2 vets working 20 hours a week came about. Now we're gonna have 1 vet making $95,000 a year. And even if, like I said, if you add $45,000 for benefits, which I think is on really the high side, the taxpayer has paid $100,000 a year more than they had to. We're talking about, we had the Oceanside people here the other day, as far as repairing their park. $300,000 would go a long way to those other things that the town needs to do, that the residents really want. So, the question is, now you're kind of, I'm glad you're hiring a full-time vet. I mean, I don't know Jeffrey Seeger personally, but, it sounds like he's not fully capable. He does have issues with his hands and everything. You would want to pick the person with the most energy to, fill this position, the vet out of school with a few years' experience, as opposed to someone who's ready to retire. Anyway, that's my opinion, and just one more thing on the shelf, because it is related to this. As far as we talk about doing due diligence, the shelter claims $3,000 for advertising, but one of these mailings...
Is it a matter on this calendar?
Okay, I will bring it up in the miscellaneous. I got one other item on this calendar that I want to talk about. Item number 17, with John Mastromarino. I hope I got his name right. He was the former controller of the town of Hempstead, is that correct?
That's correct.
And he currently works for George Maragos now, is that correct?
That is not correct.
Okay, he has worked for George Maragos.
I'm not sure.
He does work for Nassau County.
I don't believe so.
Well, he came up on the list that he was employed in Nassau County. The thing is that, part of his work here, because I've seen it on some of the documents I've foiled, came of issue during the audit of the animal shelter in Napoli. And I just feel like since he's doing financial work, that may go back years, he'd be auditing his own work, financial work. Wouldn't it be sort of a conflict of interest? Wouldn't you want to have somebody looking on the outside as opposed to someone who's in the inside? Because I believe he has been, I don't know if he currently works, but according to the latest documents, he currently works for Nassau County.
Mr. Rod, you want to go into what his responsibilities will be?
He, to the best of my knowledge, he's not currently employed by Nassau County.
Okay.
Number 2, this resolution is hiring him to assist the town controller's office, but mainly it's to review a report that we got on the Southwest Nassau Water District and the possibility or feasibility of the town of Hempstead taking over that district. That's the main part of his duties and why he's being retained.
Okay, that's all.
Anyone else on the administrative calendar? If not, I believe we have a motion and it has been seconded, so please call the roll now.
Councilman Emerson. Councilman McCullough. Councilman Darcy. Councilman Mathewski. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Aye, your motion, please. Is there a second? Okay, please call the roll.
Councilman Emerson. Councilman McCullough. Councilman Darcy. Councilman Mathewski. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned. As is our tradition, we will remain behind to listen to residents on any miscellaneous items of interest. And Charles, is either Feising or Heising from Baldwin. Karen Montalbano.
My name is Karen Montalbano. I'm Vice President of the Baldwin Civic Association. My address is 2611 Park Avenue in Baldwin. Once again, I wish to address this board about the development of Grand Avenue and Merritt Road in Baldwin. First, I'd like to thank you for arranging the meeting with the Planning Commission. We were able to present our vision of what our community needs. Unfortunately, we did not learn much, since everything was answered by the phrase, "You can't say anything because we're in negotiations." And we don't know what is being negotiated. We keep hearing that the developer has control of the design of the project, but the town of Hempstead is contributing a major component to this project, the parking lot, and we should be getting something in return for that community resource, especially if you're going to be helping them by the use of eminent domain. We need to be sure that this development incorporates a good design of the community, including green space, that it brings economic development. Adding a fifth store that is already in the community is not ideal and is not going to attract people from other areas. And any development should increase our tax base. We cannot afford to lose any more tax dollars in Baldwin. 2 weeks ago, we had 100 people show up in the rain. A diverse, multi-generational group ranging from parents with their children to grandmothers, all demonstrated the smart growth of Baldwin. We were joined by our county legislators and a representative from Vision Long Island. Today you were asked to consider and approve zoning changes for more housing. Obviously, there are many ways to develop for the future. Some of us recently met with Mayor Paul Pontieri of Patchogue, a Long Island community that has made remarkable strides in successfully revitalizing their downtown. We want to do so many of the same things that have worked for them. And we're aware of a local developer working with well-known developers who are interested in doing these types of mixed-use projects in Baldwin. You are our elected representatives. We need you to think about and plan for the future of all of the town of Hempstead. Baldwin has waited 15 years for the project. The impact of this project will be felt for decades in Baldwin. Do it right. Make it worth the wait. The future of the Baldwin community is at stake here.
Thank you very much, Ms. Montalbano, but your comments are very nice, and they're right on point, and certainly I know that there's a great deal of passion behind it and a great deal of community interest behind it. Unfortunately, your comments are such that they tend to ignore what the town of Hempstead has been trying to do for the past 15 years, and it makes it appear as if the town has not worked very diligently to achieve the exact kind of vision that you are speaking about in your statement. But the town has, and I would again like to state for the record that the town has, for the past over a decade, has been working very diligently to develop this portion of the northwest corner of Grand Avenue and Merritt Road in Baldwin. We are now on our third developer who has tried to do something with respect to this parcel. The first developer, his vision was of a comprehensive retail development of different kinds of retail stores. That development essentially came to a grinding halt with the economic downturn that started in 2008. The town then went again for a second request for proposal and selected the Albany organization that planned the exact kind of development that we're talking about here, very similar to the one that's being contemplated in Patchogue. The Albany organization, a very well-respected organization that did a wonderful job in Garden City at developing parcels in a mixed-use sort of way, made a diligent effort to have a similar project take hold on this site in Baldwin. Unfortunately, they could not make it work economically without a substantial infusion of taxpayer money from the town of Hempstead, which the town is, obviously in tough economic times, was unable to do. We went out for a third request for proposal. Only one developer came forward with a plan for the third request for proposal. This proposal, again, we are currently in the final stages of negotiation with that developer. I again reiterate, only one developer came forward on this third attempt with a request for proposal. These projects are driven by private development, by private investment. They are not designed to be use town resources to bolster private development. That is up to risk takers and entrepreneurs who come in with their vision, who come in to risk their dollars and with an economic model that they believe will give some kind of adequate economic return for them in exchange for the risking of their dollars. It is not something the town cannot dictate what kind of development goes in, because again, it is a private entrepreneur coming forward with his or her own money to initiate the development. The town can guide, can hope, can say, we'd like to see this kind of development, that kind of development, but at the end of the day, it's what's going to work economically at the site. We thought we had the right the right model when we had the second proposal, again, with the Urban East organization. They withdrew because they couldn't make it economically work. It's nice to make statements. It's nice to make it's nice to make impassioned pleas. It's nice for colleagues in county government to get their picture in the paper with their fist in the air, saying that they want this and that when they have no responsibility for it, when they don't, when they can just go and get a quick headline and move on and incite a crowd of 100 people, well-meaning people who want the best for their community. But the reality of life is that if this current, with the third developer, if this current negotiation comes to naught, we would be starting from scratch. We would be starting from the beginning. We would throw the project back several more years with absolutely no guarantee that anything else would come of it. Because again, this time around, we only had one developer interested. So what we would be looking at, if we were to either pull the plug on this current negotiation, or if we were to make certain requirements that we know would cause the developer to walk away, you would essentially be going back to square one. We'd be talking about this another 3 or 4 years from now, and you would still have nothing but blood on that corner of Grand Avenue and Merrick Road. That's the fact. That's the fact of life.
May I ask you something? Are you contributing the parking lot?
The parking lot is one of it's one of the things that is currently in the negotiation as an inducement for the developer to move forward.
And with that inducement, with that inducement, you should be able to ask back for things like green spaces, design elements. We're being told that.
It's my personal opinion, having followed this, that without that inducement, the developer would walk away and we'd be back to square one. That's reality.
And then if we took off that urban renewal and we just let it organically grow, because the urban renewal designation is stopping people from being able to people who are there are stopped from being able to get funding or being able to sell their properties.
Well, if the town could walk away from the project and leave it as it is and just leave it to private development, I don't see why anything now would happen that didn't happen.
But you put a blight designation on it. And that has stopped a lot of possibilities there.
Well, look, if that's the will, if that would be the will of the community, just let it go.
It's just a possibility.
And then let whatever, have take a laissez-faire attitude, whatever happens, happens. I mean, I don't see how that's in the best interest of taking down all of those blighted properties. You have 2 empty lots that are a result of a fire. You have other buildings that are empty. You have buildings that are certainly underutilized in terms of the kind of occupancy that they have. They're not the highest and best use. If you think that if the town would walk away from the project somehow or another, the Baldwin community would be better off than having a nationally known developer in there developing not just one store, but there are other aspects to it. There would be other development. There would be the parcel that is not part of this, that is just south of the fire department, that the town then can move on and try to get another developer interested in once this other project is underway. But if you think all of that would be better just with a hands-off policy and let it go whichever way it's going to go, I mean, that's a unique suggestion that I haven't heard before.
Sometimes we have to look at something that's a little bit out of the box too.
Well, thank you very much. Richard Jam?
I refrain from
Okay.
speaking today.
Thank you. Again, I called Charles Feistine before, I don't remember any reaction, okay? Elizabeth Stein? Stein? Name and addresses for the oil rights.
Sure. Elizabeth Stein, 5 Jonathan Road, New Hyde Park. My first question is, I ordered the certificate of incorporation of the Dogs, Cats, and Family Foundation.
Talking to the
And
mic.
Could you speak more directly into the mic?
Sure, is this better?
Yeah, no.
And I was just wondering, perhaps you would know, Mr. Ron, the certificate lists the initial directors of the corporation until the first board meeting. And I'm wondering if the first meeting was held, and if so, who is now sitting on the board?
I was happy to back, I don't have any.
Okay. Could you do that? Thank you so much. My other question is regarding the full-time vet, whoever that may be. Will that vet be required to work from 9 to 5? Will those be the hours?
Well, then I do believe that would be under the, that would be something that the animal shelter director would stipulate as the head of that department. So that's not something that's within our purview.
Okay. And do you know, would the expectation of the full-time vet be to do examinations, spay-neuter surgeries? Is this something?
And once again, I invite you to make that query of the animal shelter director, because that is within our purview.
Okay. And my last question is, as far as the spay-neuter surgery that's done through the TNR program, how is that funded? Is that funded through foundation money, or is this something that's actually part of the budget?
Ms. Patrick, can you answer that?
Part of that is part of the budget. I do know that last year, there were additional spay-neuter services rendered as part of a grant that was received. But with respect to the status of this year, you have to require with the director. I know that we are always looking for grant opportunities. And we may have some grant applications out there, I'm not sure.
Okay. And to the extent that there is not grant money, will the TNR surgery still be performed as a service?
Oh, we will still, yes, we will still be performing TNR.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Defina?
She left.
Ms. Madden?
I also have a question in regards to, again, the hiring of the veterinarian. Who makes the decision on, and that choice on which veterinarian to hire?
We get a recommendation from the animal shelter director and the town board today. It's on the personnel resolution. The town board codifies that by passing the resolution.
So you're saying the vet was recommended by the current director?
Well, in terms of the provisional that was made, what will happen is when an exam is held, and it's also on this law, and the list is established that has at least 3 individuals on it, they then would be interviewing the top 3, certified on that list, and would be able to choose from a recommendation of the top 3.
So in other words, it's 2 other applicants?
This is a provisional appointment. This is all of the New York State Civil Service law. This is not anything that we have any latitude with respect to. We have made a provisional appointment. This is done in many different positions in the town over the course of a year. That provisional appointment will now trigger a test, a civil service examination that will be open to the general public and people who have minimum qualification as stipulated in the test spec, and they will take the test. And assuming that at least 3 people pass it, a list is established, and then those individuals, the town would then have to make a permanent appointment from among the top 3. That's civil service law.
Okay, and any idea when that test will be released?
It's not up to us. It generally triggers within.
It's up to the state, and it really depends upon when it happens. I know that the last time, I don't know the last time they had a test for veterinarian. It really depends on their schedule, I think. So I would expect that it would be in the year.
And I know that the last town board meeting, you had made mention that it would be advertised, that this.
What happens is when the state calls the test, yes, there are postings, things, yeah.
Okay.
We generally advertise.
The other question I have is, where can I find the crematory charge? What? The crematory charge?
Okay.
As far as, what account would that be in?
Mr. Conroy, our controller, is going to come
That
forward.
would be account fees and services, 4151 budget.
Fees and services. Okay. And the other question that is still pressing on me, and we've discussed the positions at the animal shelter, where the department had requested 5 research assistants, but were given in the budget 6. Can you answer why that is the case?
I actually don't know why that's the case. There were 6 budgeted, and I just believe that in general, trying to, with the formation of the budget, there had originally been a suggestion that to go down to 5. I don't know the exact reason why they maintained it at 6, but it had been 6. It had been 6. Then there was a request, when the request
To
went in,
reduce it.
they put this 5, and then in the end, they just left it as 6. So it really wasn't a matter of they got more, it was maintained on what it was from the prior.
Okay, so the department,
Mr. Conroy, Mr. Conroy, come a little closer.
I think you're misreading the budget. The actual request was for 6. What was approved was 6 and 6.
so what is this department's request as far as?
2013 budget.
So last year, so what you're saying is last year they requested 5, for the current budget they requested 6.
And got 6.
And got 6.
So they requested another position.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And as far as the animal control officers, there are 8, and yet now I believe 9 have been approved. And the truth of the matter is that there are 8, and there are many days where some of these trucks aren't even dispatched. Why would the town approve 9 positions? Are they anticipating filling this 9th animal
Well, I mean,
control
obviously, that was
officer?
a departmental request, and if you'd like the actual justification for the department, I'm sure we can.
Yes, could you?
Ms. Petrie will.
Thank you. And then lastly, there's a woman that has been eager to volunteer at the shelter. She's not been called. I wouldn't want to think she's being discriminated against, because at one point I put in her application back in December and she still hasn't heard anything. So maybe it would be best for me to hand it in here, and hopefully she'll receive a phone call and volunteer for me. Thank you.
Ms. Petrie, would you just take that back to the okay, now I have Mr. Procaci. Anyone else would like to speak?
Just want to go back to the using money wisely. My legislator Muscarella does a fine job of letting us know about assessments and how to challenge our assessments. And the town sends us the same thing essentially, within a very short period. Maybe you could coordinate with the county so we didn't, since he does a really good job of letting us know what we could do, we don't need to receive, 2 mailings for the same thing. It's a lot of money. It's not like a trivial amount, a couple of dollars. These things cost a lot of money. Each one, minimum postage is at least $35,000. If it's oversized, it might be $50,000, $70,000 just for postage. That could go a long way to, doing things. Another item, as far as you, just recording the money correctly, which I understand. On the animal shelter, it only lists $3,000, $3,500 for advertising. Once again, we get a couple of these mailings each year that have to do with the animal shelter. Once again, if we're going to spend this amount of money on advertising, which is, like I said, $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 for postage and plus production and everything, that should be listed in the budget for the animal shelter, that the advertising should include whatever the cost is less than the advertising that we get received. I don't know if these companies here receive, give us any money, but the real cost of this advertising should be listed on the animal shelter budget. George Maragos recently announced that he's putting all contracts online. He actually did it on a Facebook page, not really the best format, but I've recommended this before, and I recommended this to him actually a few months ago when I met him on occasion, and he's put the contracts online. This would be a great idea because it helps keep residents informed of exactly how government is spending their money. It helps reporters who want to do stories, they can get the details of contracts without having to foil them. It should be readily available, and it's a good control mechanism, keeps government accountable. Also in the news, Suffolk legislator is going to be broadcasting their town board meetings. Next month will be 1 year since I recommended it. It's a great idea. Supervisor Harvey thinks it's a good idea. We're going to look into it. We have the camera, the video, audio equipment to do it. I don't see why we don't do that. Again, on the idea of fiscal responsibility, and Supervisor Murray brought this up because I remember it was Claudia Barecki who talked about why should the town talk about state meetings and state issues. Here we received the mailing. Once again, this was, I think, because it was sent to each address, it was actually, I think, the postage was about $52,000 according to the stamp. It talks about aircraft noise, which the town doesn't have a responsibility for. It's, just touting
Please wrap up, Mr.
yeah, it's touting the efforts of Ken Hannon, Jack Martin, and Ed Rock. It thanks Governor Cuomo for following their leadership. But it really has nothing to do with town business, and I'm sure they're given a budget to advertise their accomplishments in the state assembly. So I think that should be left to them and not town taxpayer money. Another issue that
Begin to wrap up, Mr. Couch, please.
I'll continue next week.
Sounds good to me. Thank you very much.
Something that I was going to find out when I get back to you.
Oh, okay, that
You want the list of those other duties. Are those other duties that take up so much of his time?
Is that changed? Did the budget not change? Because I know that there's one ACO that's on permanent assignment.
I don't think that was the case. Well, you know what, honestly, maybe you're right.
Well, let me find out.
But that recommended thing on the budget, usually the recommended is for the year in the budget, not for the previous year.
Because I originally I read that as they would do, because everyone this year was looking for ways to do, what you really need.
Where you can cut.
Nobody wants to give up.
Well, especially because some people are retiring. So if you have
want to see the applicants get the best
So,
of it.
while I was doing that, I missed your change. And
Let me ask you something too while you're here.
this is someone that wants to,
Yeah, volunteer. Is there any chance of getting a meeting with Kate Murray or Lucille and myself? I would like to discuss further, and simply based on our requisition with her, we're very aware that sometimes the information doesn't get to her for whatever reason, it's resolved beforehand. But this Dr. Siegel issue is a very big concern.
I will certainly pass it on. I don't know what will happen with that.
All right, thank you. Thanks very much.
We covered, yeah, but that thing on the budget, shouldn't the number recommended be for the year of the budget? Why would you care what
I think
they
I would
recommended
recommend that
last
they
year?
put a title over that string of
Right,
numbers,
that's
which would clarify.
All right, thank you.
You got a lot of good video. Still going. Still going. You never know what you're gonna catch. Be surprised. Sometimes you have to plan stuff. Sometimes the best things happen that are unplanned.
But look, I go on the fact that Kate Murray told us she doesn't always know these things. Exactly.
For them.
You wanted to speak to Sean?